Okay, in reading your bio,
Mhm.
you trained in OVW for a while
I
when you
did
started.
after I got signed with WWE. So I trained with Ron Hutchison first, and then um, one of the guys that trained with Ron opened up a lucha school. And so I'd already kind of gotten all my fundamentals and learned my psychology and kind of was, I already started matches. So I really just wanted to sharpen up my other skills in terms of wrestling styles that influenced me, which was Japanese and Mexican wrestling as well. But those kind of moves influenced me. But I've always been a stickler for American psychology. Like that's what I love is American psychology when it comes to wrestling.
And what made you want to get into wrestling?
I mean, I think what everyone, every
Yeah.
wrestler pretty much is a wrestling fan at some point in their life. And I watched it when everyone watched wrestling, it was the days of the Hulkster, Bret Hart, and when everybody watched wrestling, literally Saturday night's main event. You're, as a kid, you're just struggling to stay awake on those special nights once a month. Just and then I kind of fell out of it. And then when I was in college, I was switching the channels and I got caught up on a storyline that wasn't even had nothing to do with the women's division. But at the time, they were just starting to have the women wrestle a lot more. It was like the Trish, the Victorias, the Ivory, Molly, Jackie, everyone, that golden era of women. And I fell in love with the wrestling part of the business. I really fell in love with the sport of wrestling. And so found a wrestling school and the rest was history, as we say, I was just very fortunate.
So you trained
Mhm.
around Rip Rogers,
Yes, after the fact. Yes.
Jimmy Cornette,
Yes. Yes.
and Kenny Bolin.
Yes, I did. Yes, those are my days. Those are my days.
Okay, you got to tell us a Cornette story.
Well, with Cornette, I only have good stories. Like I don't know if I love
Oh,
Jim.
I want to tell you something about Cornette. He
Okay.
is the only one, really,
Yes.
and on my say this hand that
Yeah.
he's never said anything bad about. Apparently, you
Or,
impressed him.
or me.
No, you.
Oh, me. Okay.
Oh, he has never said anything bad or negative about you at all.
Yeah. We've
And
had
if it,
experiences.
that doesn't take in too many people because he's knocked everybody.
Has he? Well, then I feel very honored.
So
Um,
any Jimmy stories?
Yeah, so Jim Cornette, OVW, and then when I came to, so I had experiences with Jim Cornette in WWE and TNA, but I'll say the more close relationship I had was when he was my agent in TNA. And this was pre-Knockouts division days. So this is when Jackie was just brought in to kind of test the waters of the women's division. And so he was my first agent that I can clearly remember because I begged for a steel cage match with Jackie Moore. And I remember he was my agent because he gave us the finish for that match. And I was still green at that point too, if we're really being honest here. I probably because people think that it takes a couple of years for you to be really comfortable and to lead in that ring. It can take quite
Mm-hmm, it
long
can.
time. Yeah, it took me, I would say about the 8 year mark is when I really remember feeling very comfortable. And so Jim Cornette at that time, that was when I was just wrestling, and that's all I really knew. And Jim Cornette was like, how about this, Gail? At the end of that match, you have this thing won and you're about to step out that door. And then you just look at that crowd and then you go, no way. And you slam the door and you go up to the top. And I think it's my real first time with a producer where it just clicked in like the storytelling aspect. It wasn't just about the wrestling moves and how can you really get that crowd? And boy, did I hear it and feel it. And at the end of that match, I remember the crowd really coming and exploding. And I just remember when I had my beauty at the end of that after my hand got raised. I remember going to the crowd and really feeling them. And I think wrestlers, when you have those certain moments in your career where you finally get them and you feel it and you do something for that reaction, you see that it works, it kind of clicks. That was one of my first clear moments. And so it always sticks with you. And That's why when I'm producing now, when I tell one of the girls, for example, Jordan Grace, when she started with us, for the longest time, I would tell her, I'm just not feeling any emotion. Like, you got to give something, and they want to feel
Yep.
that emotional reaction, or the intimacy. And she had this real moment of emotion. And I said, did you hear the crowd react when you
Yep.
did? And she said, yeah, I actually did. And she kept on doing it from that point on. That was that moment for me, the same thing. When you finally get it, that you can kind of control the crowd in some ways.
When you're training somebody, that's one of the hardest things to get across, because
Yeah.
even when I started with Swagger, he would
Yeah.
do things I said, don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, they told us, don't play the people. I went, don't play the people.
Yeah.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I said, do you see Vince McMahon come down step? And we'll get back to him in just a minute. You see Vince McMahon coming to the ring? He's playing them for all they're worth. His hands is this. I said, that's what they're there for. They want to be played.
Yes.
But I call it, I tell young wrestlers, it's like a comedian. You go on stage, you got to feel the heat in that room.
Yeah.
You got to feel that temperature. And I've seen one comedian, he would go to one corner, then he'd go to another corner. And then he said, well, I'm just feeling where I'm getting the most reaction, what corner. And if I get a reaction, I'll stay in this corner and do my whole routine.